Hey guys, it's Ness here at Cake Style. Today's recipe is an amazing sweet and tangy grapefruit mimosa cake. If you love citrus flavors and you're a fan of this drink, you are absolutely gonna love this recipe. Okay, so let's get started on this recipe. I have it all detailed. There's a blog post in the description box below for you, but I'm gonna be taking 5 eggs and I'm just separating the whites from the yolks. I'm gonna start with the whites and I'm gonna whip those on medium and then high until we get stiff to medium peaks. You want them to look quite fluffy and it will stick to the whisk. Now I'm gonna start on my dry ingredients. I just have some plain all-purpose flour. I'm also gonna be adding in some baking powder to this and a touch of salt. That helps to bring out all these beautiful citrus flavors. I'm gonna go ahead and reserve those egg whites for later. I'm gonna be folding those in at the very end. I now wanna do the butter and the sugar, and I'm just gonna cream those both together. I'm zesting a grapefruit and an orange. I'm gonna be using half of a grapefruit and half of an orange. I really wanna have a nice balance between the two. And I'm gonna pop those in and just mix that around along with a little bit of champagne oil and my egg yolks. So now once those are all combined, it's time to do the 3-step sort of process of adding a bit of our flour, then adding our milk, more flour, more milk, and lastly our flour. And we're going to top that off with about 1/3 of the egg whites. I just want to combine a little bit of that, and then I'm going to fold in the rest very, very carefully. You want to make sure that you keep the aeration going. We want a fluffy, fluffy cake with this. So we want to make sure that they are combined, but only just. Now I have prepared 3 8-inch round cake pans. I have buttered the sides and the bottom, and then I have added a little bit of parchment paper just to the base. Now I'm not going to lie, I did go ahead and weigh all of these to make sure that they were absolutely perfect. I baked them for about 23 or 24 minutes for my oven, but be sure to check on them after about the 20-minute mark. They will be nice and golden, and that's because of the citrus in it. Letting those cool, I want to get started on my buttercream. Now this is going to be a white chocolate champagne buttercream. I've already got such great flavors happening with the citrus in the cake, and now it's time to just create a super creamy and just decadent, delicious buttercream to go with this. This is by far one of my favorite buttercreams. I love adding white chocolate, but the first thing you need to do is of course make a regular buttercream with butter and sugar. Then I'm going to heat up some cream and I'm going to pour that over some white chocolate. Now again, everything is listed in the blog for you, but basically we're just heating it all up. Keep stirring it. You can pop that back into the microwave if it's not fully dissolved on 50% power, and then let that whole thing cool down a fair bit before you pour it into your buttercream. And oh my gosh guys, this is so good. You're going to absolutely love this recipe. I'm going ahead and dividing it into 3 parts. I want to have some variation in the color. So even though it is grapefruit and orange, I'm going to go ahead and tint a little bit of it lemon yellow. To that, I also added 2 drops of our champagne oil. And then in the other 2 bowls, I'm using a creamy peach. It's a Wilton Creamy Peach food color. And in the last one, just a straight orange. Be sure not to make these colors too strong because otherwise it will look a little bit garish and a bit too sort of in your face. Now you can always go ahead and make your filling just a single color if you want to, but I really love how these all kind of marble together. So I'm going to be adding layers of our buttercream. This going on right now is my grapefruit curd. It is made with lemon, orange and grapefruit rind and juice. It's absolutely incredible. I have used it once before. Again, all the details for it are on the blog for you, but if you don't have any curd, you can go ahead and use something like an orange marmalade because that's also something that's perfect as the filling for a cake like this. Stacking this all up, I'm going to whack that into the fridge for about 15 minutes. And then you can see I'm doing something sort of a bit quirky. I'm using some bamboo skewers. The reason is that the curd has a lot of movement and it wants to sort of wriggle and shimmy around. So I've learned over time that if you strap all of those layers together with just some bamboo skewers, get your little crumb coat happening on the sides of the cake and the top, and then once you've chilled that again, you can go ahead and remove those. But I tell you, it makes your life so much easier when you're doing something that has kind of a jiggly kind of filling or frosting in the middle. Before we get started on the piping, I want to do a fairly thick coat to the top of this cake. Just using those 3 colors again and a large angled spatula, you just want to create almost like a watercolor kind of effect to the top. And you want this to be messy. It's okay to have streaks and lines and just something sort of textural about the top of it. You don't want it to be flawless. You want it to look super homemade. Now I'm using a 1M piping tip, and as you can see, I'm using a glass as kind of like a bit of a funnel here to add in all of my colors. You just want to keep grabbing little spatula fulls of all of the different colors because you don't want this to look so perfect. You just want lots of variety. And now we're ready to pipe. So what I'm doing is a typical shell border. That's all it is. It's just an up down, kind of like waves of the ocean. It's such a simple thing, and most people who have been decorating for a while find that this is something that they've done a lot of. But if you haven't decorated at all, just imagine it as sort of like a little up down movement. And basically the key to these is that you apply a little bit more force and a bit of pressure as you start the shell. So squeeze, release, squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Gosh, I can't keep up with my piping, but you get the idea. You kind of want to add the pressure at the start of the sort of action and the shape, and then release your pressure and let that go to create more of a tail at the end of each one. Remember, you can always practice something like this with some plain frosting and just like an acetate sheet or some parchment paper or a butcher block, anything at all that you want to until you feel comfortable. But this is a really sweet idea to take such a simple shell border and just use it all over the whole cake. And then I topped it off with just a little bit of sugar crystals. It's optional. I just love the idea of a little bit of glitz with our champagne flavor. Now I served this up for a family brunch, but you know I have to cut a slice so that you guys can check it out here as well. It was absolutely delicious and amazing, so fluffy, so yummy. Please remember to tag me if you make this. I love seeing all of your creations, and head over to the blog for the full recipe. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you with another video next week.